protocol. The Stampede is the Stampede was the original platform of Cora. I mean, this is the Book and Art Festival came much later, but the whole idea, the original idea was to have artists, creatives get together and, you know, discuss the state of the arts. You know, that was the initiative, that was the idea in June 1991 when we first convened. And so it's a reason why the last session, the last of the plenary sessions of LABAF is the Stampede. We end the, so when we finish here, for example, '27. So if you've been with us since Monday, you've been part of the 27th Lagos Book and Art. We've done this for 26 years. That's why it's 27. You know. So, and what is the Stampede? The Stampede is a parliament of artists, you know. So you get everybody in the room, visual artists, filmmakers, fashion designers, stage designers, dramatists, poets, sculptors, you know, I mean, the entire range of, now there are digital
Please, a round of applause for Mr. Toyin Akinshu. Thank you very much, sir, for that wonderful presentation and an overview of what we have in the Ant Stampede. On this panel, I'll be calling on the first person, the ex-Federal Director of Creative Industry. Please join me as I welcome Mr. Babajide Ajibola. A round of applause for him, please. A round of applause for him, please. Okay, he's joining us online. Okay, moving on to the next person, we have the Director and the Prof of Directing, Southern Illinois University, Mr. Segun Ojewuyi. Online. Okay, all right, so he's going to join us. And also on the list where we have over to you.
Okay, good evening, dear creatives. And thank you for joining us this evening for this session. Some of us have been writing about the culture sector for quite some ages now, and questions we have always asked are, what are the funds that most governments out there give to those who create, to help them create? Because most of the time, creatives here either sell their property, raise funds whichever way they can to make a film, to put out a theater piece, whether it's a dance, whether it's
All right, so permit me, excuse me for that interjection. So the moderator is already in the house. Please join me as I bring in Mr. Lukman Sanusi. Please, a round of applause for him, please. So sorry about that interjection.
Once I have the mic, I have the power. And the Federal Republic of Nigeria, this is hereby, there is a coup. I beg, stand up from my chair, please sit down. You know, no, I'm not. All right. Good evening, everyone. Mr. Chairman, everybody, you're welcome to Art Stampede. This is the 27th, right? Or the 27th year. What we are discussing today, it's very close to my heart, in the sense that we all need money for the creative industry to survive. While we're going to stall a bit to allow other panelists to join us, i.e. Professor Segun Ojewuyi and Babajide, but we have, the room is full of scholars and enthusiasts and practitioners, and I'm sure we can generate a lot of discussion and debate. Yeah, Mr. Akinsho earlier on read out some of the funds that were made available by the federal government. I was also reading some, I also read 100,000, not billion, but I think it's $1 million. And I said to him that it's possible it's in dollars because the funds are in two phases. The first one is $100 million, I'm sure, not billion, $100 million, which is actually for, I think, to procure physical, maybe a building and, places and stuff. That's the first phase. And the second phase of funding And the first phase was, it was supposed to access it between April and June 2025. So I don't know how many people have applied for that. And then the second phase is meant to be for funds under $100 million, you know, below, for SMEs, right? How do they call them? Yeah. So whether anybody has been able to access these funds, you know, is what we want to discuss, and what are the process and whatnot. So beyond the Creative Economic Development Fund, CEDF, that's the first one by the federal government. There is also the NEXIM, Nigerian Export-Import Bank Fund. I don't have the details for that. I also know that the central bank rolled out some, you know, funds for the arts. And then there's also, of course, we all know our friend Bank of Industry. So many people have been able to access that, you know, while some people default, some whatnot. So, first of all, and I'm probably going to be relating it to what we have in England, because at least I've tried to apply for funds there, and you know, right now, funds for the arts in England is really drying up. It's dried up, especially for black art. You know, so we see the correlation, or we see how we can borrow from the experience of both climes. But first of all, let's come to Nigeria. I'm going to start. They say ladies first, after men, right? So I'm going to start. You didn't get that joke, but it's all right. I didn't get it. But I'm going to start with Lady Ejiro, whom I met yesterday. I've been, you know, we've had very interesting discussion, bordering on financing and stuff. So she knows the way. So what's your take on some of these initiatives by the federal government? I don't want to talk about the bottlenecks now. Let's just look at, you know, because what I know is particularly theater, because that's my forte. It's very hard for any theater company to sustain itself without funding. So some of these initiatives by federal government, what's your take on that? Do you think, you know, it's what we need right now, or they're just playing politics?
Thank you. It has been a pleasure meeting you since yesterday. We've really had some great conversation. It's very nice. And it's a pleasure to be here with all of you. Thank you for giving us the honors to be here. And I believe this is going to be an interactive conversation, not just all talking about it, because I'm sure you all have perspectives to this conversation as well. But what I would say quickly, because of the point, the way you landed, is this politics or is this really working? Any funding system that does not have legislative backup is politics. I say this categorically because of the experiences and my interactions with various creatives in the Nigeria industry. There's a bill going on here. I want to use that example to just drive home a point. There's a bill that is being driven by the National Assembly for women so that they can have seats. The further I dig into that conversation, the more I understand that it's a political strategy to win the top of the mind of women so that they think they are being favored in lieu and in preparation for 2027. The conversation is robust. There have been a series of meetings. There have been a lot of engagement. It is phenomenal. Women of various voices have come on board. We've spoken about it. We've written about it. My organization, Lighter Media, we amplify everything women, investigative journalism, and anything creative sector, and the economy in that space. But with regards to most of this funding, like the Creative Economic Fund, that was 100,000. So if you're a business that makes 100,000 a month as a small business owner, that's 100,000 US dollars a month or thereabout. That opportunity is for you. Then there were those who earn much more than that. And they gave, so if you have a big studio and you want real funding for film, for drama, for even publishing and things like that, all of that opportunity, let me be honest, the process for identifying the creative sector was well done. But here was my challenge. I tried to apply for it. And online, it became such a difficult thing to go through the very first step. So they have this particular online organization separate from the ministry that is supposed to be the vetting portal. I went through that portal a zillion times. It will not go. And then I had an opportunity where I had to anchor with the NCC as well as the NICOMSAT. And they brought these phenomenal young Nigerian people who were doing great work in app development, in platform development, in how to bring AI and the convergence that goes with the industry. Brilliant. But you know the feedback we all got that day from every young person who has a small business that was trying to apply? All the apps always had technical issues. So we're not saying the initiative's idea are wrong, but if you're going to launch it, the onboarding has to be right from the get-go, so that it makes it easy, and then we believe that there's transparency, there's accountability, the process is being thought through, and you understand that the digital economy of Nigerian space for accessibility, infrastructure issues or power failure, data connectivity issues and all of that is also factored in the building of such platforms. So one of the identifying marks I discover is the onboarding landing platform always experiences or have technical issues. In some other instances, I got to know too that sometimes it also depends on your IP address where you may actually have been targeted. And no matter how many times you click on that thing, you're not going to get it. So that's on the one hand. Then another thing I discovered is that some of this funding, when you now go through the process, the requirement is insane. You're talking about B2B businesses, you're talking about the technicality of the legalese, not to mention the area of business processes and governance systems in place, the accounting system that you should have. All of that, and that's, I think, is a clarion call for us in the creative industry, that look, whether we like it or not, the creative industry is a business. And if we don't understand how business models work, if we don't understand how we create business plans, if we don't have on hand our accountants who understand the process of how to write proposals and things like that, we're just going to keep knocking ourselves off the park every single time.
All right, thank you. At this juncture, thank you for that. I'm going to call on Professor Ojewuyi to quickly join us as one of the panelists. He's just walking in now. And he's told me that if we don't give him a round of applause, he's not going to join. Professor Ojewuyi, please. Your seat is waiting for you. Please, let's keep the applause going. He said he will not join if you don't keep it going. Good afternoon, sir. Over here, sir. He's come all the way from the US to be part of this conversation. Prof, you're welcome. We're discussing the of course, you got a brief, so, all right. So, Lady Ejiro has, oh, yes. We're talking about the various government initiatives to fund the creative industry and how easy is it for the artists or the arts to access these funds. We have the Creative Development Fund. We have the, please remind me, the Nexim Bank funds. We have the Central Bank funds. We have the Bank of Industry, and blah, blah, blah. So we want to find out how many people have been able to access it and what are the challenges, and that's the conversation we're having. Yeah, I'll come to you, but I just want to quickly go to Anote. Now, she has said that, this is probably political thing going on and not the genuineness of the government funding the arts. Because if we're talking about technicalities, well, government also, well, in the process, they also identified that you could use your IP as a collateral as opposed to the, having landed properties and all of that. Do you think that sort of initiative is good for the arts, where you can use your IP as a collateral? Let's talk about that. Is it something?
Yeah, I guess that would be good if it's actually applied to the letter. But then again, it will be a challenge for young creatives who are just coming up, who may not have produced anything. So what would they not use as collateral if they haven't produced anything? So that could be a challenge in that sphere. And commenting on some of these fundings being political, and well, she's a living example of someone who tried to assess those fundings and the challenge, the roadblocks she met. And I can imagine that also goes for a whole lot of other persons out there who wanted to assess these funds, but haven't. A few months ago, Olumide Yonda of QED News Platform organized a creative economy summit in Lagos. And there were a few government persons who were in the audience, and even in the panel, who were positive that people should apply, that they should go beyond this usual skepticism about government policies that, oh, they don't work, therefore we shouldn't bother. Of course, the Bank of Industry example, even though it was partly abused, partly worked for those who assessed it. So I guess the idea would be to say, look, just keep on applying. But then, over the years, even my bosses who are here, we've always talked about the Nigerian culture policy that was initially, that was started way back in 1988, that we kept talking about over the years. From 1988 to now is how many years? But it seems to have gone nowhere. No policy for the culture, the creative sector from government. Now, if you, about a month ago or so, when the newly refurbished National Theatre was reopened, the president said there was going to be an endowment fund of sorts. For me, it wasn't properly defined. I mean, it was just like usual political pronouncement. For what exactly? Is it to keep renovating the National Theatre so it doesn't go back to where it was before it was renovated? Or for the sector to assess? So since then till now, what has the Ministry of Arts, Creative Economy, Culture and Creative Economy, what have they done? By now, one would have imagined that they would have called a stakeholders meeting to say, okay, the president has made this pronouncement. How do we begin to walk the talk? You know, put structures in place to make it work. And in the process, possibly revive the moribund national culture policy. But it's all mom ever since. All right. So, but before you go, I mean, Welu here, our friend and brother and the travel journalist of repute, he, last year, or was it early this year, he was in Ghana for a festival, the Govt festival, I imagine. And there was a Brazilian guy who came, who was at the festival. And everybody on all the panels, they kept talking how they were able to raise money from their own personal endeavors, the one they borrowed, they sold their property, or they met an uncle, you know. And the guy was, wait a minute, what's going on? You mean there's no government input? And these were creatives from across the continent, not just Ghanaians or Nigerians, South Africa, Senegal, Kenya, wherever. So after that, he thought that, okay, he could share their Brazilian experience with African creatives, you know, to tell them how it works in in Brazil, you know. And he told us, I mean, about 3-4 Zoom sessions that he had with us, with other creatives from the Brazil who had access, who go between creatives and the government and the agencies that give these funds. So there's the federal grants, there's one from states, and there's from the local governments, and the one from the companies.
All right. So because we've got a lot to talk about, I'm just, yeah. No, not yet. I'll come to that. So, but I want to also hear from Professor Ojewuyi, and we want to, let's see if we can borrow a leaf from how it's done in the US, the grants process and stuff. Because there seems to be a problem with structure, according to, if there's anything to learn from what both of you have been talking about. Therefore, let us hear from Professor Ojewuyi how easy it is to access funds in the US.
This is Stampede, because I was not prepared to be here. I just said I would look in. Anyway, I will respond. And my response is going to disappoint, enrage, and challenge. I'll disappoint you in the first instance that we do not always have to look to America to be able to do these things. We have the know-how, we have expertise, we have knowledge, and all the documents are there. We can, make this happen. The cultural policy is weak, but it's still a policy, and there are parts of it that can easily be executed and made functional almost immediately. So when we look to these places, they have always been the source, that we have used in crafting our policies and all of that. The crafting of the policies has not been the problem. It is in the execution. That's where the problem has always been. And so let me go therefore to the execution. And that's why I said I would enrage, because my views are not going to be, really well embraced. In the first instance, I'm a Nigerian, though I'm also an American, but I'm first of all a Nigerian. And I think that I have stayed in this field long enough to know a few things about its history, and the inclination of the people who run the culture ministry, and all of that. Let's face this. What does the Ministry of Culture, or whatever new names it's given, what does it do? What has it done for us that is constructive and positive? What, really? Every year they point at this thing called NAFEST. I'm just using that as one example. Who here has really benefited from NAFEST? Not just financially, but structurally. How has that advanced the cause of the arts and culture in this country? It has been used as a platform for our government officials to have contracts and have monies into their pockets. That's why they have maintained it for so long. Why is the cultural policy not functional? When you have a policy, that's an expression by a government to do something in that sector. The government then hands it over to its officials to make it happen. That's always where the policies have ended. They've just died on the tables of the civil servants. And every time we hear of these big funds, that's all we hear. We don't know where they go. So if we come to these private sector interests now that are coming up with these funds and all of that, let's separate them. There are grants, fellowships, loans. What are these? Are they loans? Are they grants? Are they fellowships? Most of them are loans. That's not what we really want or need at this point. It's a decision, the corporate people, finance people have suddenly found out that there's something growing in the arts and culture sector, and there's an opportunity to make some money. So they're establishing these loans, and we are suddenly excited, that, oh yeah, there is this thing and we're going to apply. It's just all a joke, because it's going to go into, the same pockets, and some of us are really smart, so we study the thing, we find a niche, we get in, and we take ours, and that's the end of it. So that too is questionable. We talked about the creative economy. It's a vibrant idea that works well in some other economies. But in our state, what does it mean? We need to rigorously question, what does this creative economy thing mean for us? So, my radical position is this, and it may be ill-informed or inadequate, but it's just my opinion. I think we should scrap the Ministry of Culture. We should scrap it entirely and retire those who are retirable and fire those who we can fire and just clean the slate. Let me give you this you know, if you think of the salaries that are going to these individuals, from the minister down to the last person, think of the money being spent on salaries and benefits and the maintenance of their offices and all the trips they make and all those other things. Take that money. This is to say that you're not going to cost the federal government any extra cent for what is already spending. Take all of that money and put it together. Put it into a fund, an endowment. Take the money that's allocated to NAFEST every year, put it in the same endowment. Take the money that is spent on the minister's cars and entourage and all of those things, and add them, you know, put all of that together and see how much it is in 1 year. Put in an endowment. Wait. Let us continue to, you know, struggle for the next 5 years as we have been doing before. And in 5 years, go back to that fund and see how much it has yielded and begin to disburse that money to the artists, for cultural workers. Let's stop the politics. The Ministry of Culture, Tourism, whatever name it comes up with, has constantly been the ministry where a gift, where the president gets to make a gift to a friend of his or to a political associate and appoint a minister who now blows out some grammar and then finishes the term and disappears into the wind. Let us just, you know, we need to call the spade and say, we really don't need it. For example, you have the British Arts Council.
Yeah.
Then you have the, you know, American Endowment for the Arts. That's all you have. You don't have a ministry. You don't have a Secretary of Culture in the US or Secretary of Arts. You don't have that. Put people, constitute boards that will, you know, look over these funds and disburse them. And these boards are rotational, so that no one is sitting there permanently. For example, what killed the National Troop of Nigeria? Because as far as I'm concerned, it is dead. What killed it was that it was, you know, turned from a private enterprise into a civil service enterprise. So an actor gets into the troupe or a dancer gets into the troupe and is a civil servant waiting for retirement. Whereas you need to constantly recycle, you know, if an actor is not up to it, just like the Eagles. If you're not playing your wing well, then we bring new talent because you're on contract. That's how you bring vibrancy to these sectors. But on all of these areas, we've just, you know, lost it. It's only the artists who can really make it happen. And the first thing is to challenge, protest, aggravate, damn the consequences.
Thank you so much, Professor Ojewuyi. Thank you for your radical view. I'm told that Mr. Jide Ajishola, the ex-Federal Director of Creative Enterprises, under whose tenure these funds were launched, has joined us online. Mr. Jide, are you, can we hear him? Is he here? All right. All right. Can you unmute yourself? Sir, can you unmute yourself? Can you unmute yourself? Can you hear us? Can you hear us? All right. This is some technical thingy going on. Can you unmute yourself? Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. I
All
can
right.
hear you.
Thank you so much. Now we can hear you loud and clear. I
You
wanted,
can hear me now?
Yes. I want your reaction to the, I would say, radical view of Professor Ojewuyi, who said we should scrap.
Yes, I was going to react to it.
Yes, we should scrap.
Yeah, he's somebody I've known in the circle for almost 35 to 40 years.
All right, hang on. If you allow me to just let you.
We are all at national theater those days. Before
Okay, so what is your reaction to scrapping the Ministry of Culture and at the same time go for endowment for the arts and then the rotational term that he mentioned? quickly.
Yes, I will react to his suggestions. The U.S. system, the federal system in U.S. is totally different from Nigeria, completely different. So let's start from the political structure. In the U.S., it was the states that created the federal government. In Nigeria, the states are created by political fiat, by the military. So we have a different, that's why they don't have a Ministry of Culture and all that. That is one of the reasons, because the political structure is different. And the kind of federalism we practice is totally different also. Secondly, you must have a policy framework for culture and creative arts. If you don't have it in a country like ours, a diverse country like ours, there will be a problem. So there must be some kind of harmonization, which is what the ministry was supposed to do and has been doing. Maybe there's a disconnect now because the ministry is now based in Abuja. When we were in Lagos, we interacted more with the artists. The civil servants and the artists interacted on a daily basis. I remember we not only meet at National Theatre, we socialized at Abiegi almost every evening. So there was a connection. And when Kora was formed, I was part of the Stampede. But now I'm in Abuja. I retired 5 years ago. So the connection with most of my colleagues are not there like it used to be. That's a problem. Thirdly, I think the creative arts has a very weak pressure group. And I'll speak to that now. It has a very weak pressure group, unlike other sectors, like the doctors. Every time you hear them, they are going on strike. But I'm not saying the creatives to go on strike. Maybe they don't even have the structure to go on strike. But let me tell you something, for free now. The endowment for the arts, I finished it with Grace Gepe. Grace Gepe was the first cultural officer to become a permanent secretary. And when we were both living in 2020, we promised ourselves, as the last of the old cultural network that started work in Lagos, that would deliver the endowment for the art. We finished it. We gave it to the minister, Minister Lai Mohammed. Nobody out of you has asked the new minister. She's been carrying on. She comes to Lagos every time. You don't ask her. Somebody told us endowment for the arts is lying. Completed. It just needs to be fine-tuned. Me and Ms. Grace Gepe, we finished it. I'm sure most of you there, you know her, you know me. We handed it over to Lai Mohammed, the minister Lai Mohammed. But since we left, it's lying there. Because there's a disconnect. I told German this. German is aware of this. And I told German, you have to create a stakeholder forum where you have to sensitize that some of these things are lying there. Also, when I was retiring, me and Grace promised to deliver on cultural policy. We came up with a draft, which we have been working on since last year. Since last year, December, I have not heard anything. They brought in some private people who I'm not sure, this is my opinion, please. I'm not sure they can navigate it properly. I believe in a committee of small, thoroughbred professionals who fine-tune the draft of the cultural policy. But as it is, I don't know where it lies. I have to ask German because he seems to be closer to the person who is handling it now. I'm now a private citizen. The person I handed over to is also retiring. So one, the cultural policy is in limbo. Two, endowment for the arts is lying down on the table of the minister. Nothing's being done. And the third and fourth point I'll try to make is this. We have signed a number of conventions with UNESCO. The 1951 one is about war and culture. As of today, those conventions have not been domesticated into our laws. I'm not sure the art community is even aware of this. We have signed about 6 UNESCO conventions, very important conventions for the creative arts. Nobody is pressurizing the National Assembly to domesticate it into our laws. Before I retired, myself and Ms. Gepe, we tried. But there was lack of funds and the National Assembly were not really, they didn't understand the issues. We as civil servants, there's little we could have done from inside. Even if you are keeping pressure or making pressure from inside, other people like the people that are there, right there, should be the ones from outside pressurizing. The 1951 is about war and culture. As of now, if they bomb National Theatre, there's no repercussion because you don't have a law. The 1954 Convention says that you cannot attack palaces, shrines, national monuments, museums. We have ratified the convention, but as of today, it's not in our laws. So if you want to enforce it internationally, they come and bomb. The US is threatening to come. If they come and do anything to your cultural assets, there's nothing you can do because it's not in your laws.
All right, thank you, Mr. Babajide. Thank you so much. We're trying to understand the disconnect between the people who are the affairs of culture and the art itself. That disconnection is what we're trying to understand because, as you've rightly said, during your time and your tenure, you worked on the policy and all of that. But, you know, the art community doesn't seem to get that effect. And someone had earlier said something about implementation. I believe that was Professor Ojewuyi. And then the policy framework. And this has been some of the problems that we have. I'm sure Professor Ojewuyi will want to quickly react to some of the issues you raised, and I'm going to go from him and then come down to Lady Ejiro.
Yeah, I'm happy that she noted that one has been around for quite some time. So one has also dealt with a number of the civil servants and at the top, middle level, and some of the names that he mentioned were actually colleagues. We graduated about the same time. I don't know how to. I have tried all my life to mute myself, but I don't know how to. So you're going to permit me again. Those so-called colleagues of ours who, breathed fire and brimstone, whatever, got into the civil service and became the clogs in the progress of the arts. Let's face it, they all then sat down looking for, retirement. You talked about drafting the endowment fund and saying that the artists do not have a pressure group. The government has a responsibility in the first place to execute its own policy. Yeah. Should not be waiting for us to be a pressure group that you then treat like idiots because they don't listen to us every time. And, every time the fingers will be pointed at the artists. And the artists are constantly doing it. Imagine how much work is happening. There is LABAF going on here. Yeah. There is the theater festival going on there. There is that museum of Yoruba Museum. All of these things are efforts by artists. And we continue to challenge ourselves to do better. And the government, someone says we're not mounting. What kind of pressure do you want? Noise making? By the work, we're mounting pressure, and that should be acknowledged. But, so, I still say it. Someone just wrote me in response, someone from who's listening online said, and that reminded me very clearly, because he's right, I won't mention his name, but he says this. He says the way, just a second, please. And it's so true. It just got me angry again. This way this man is speaking is exactly the way Mr. Frank Aigimokwede sounded during the stampede in the 1990s. We're just going in circles. And it's the truth. I was Secretary General of NANTAP, and we needed to see the minister, Kure, at the time. Y.Y. Kure. One of us, an artist, a senior artist, was his special assistant. And we wanted to see him, and he did not help. He did not lift a finger. We found our way to the minister through his daughter, who is an artist. So within us, once we get into the establishment, we become something else. So scrap that establishment. Right. Let us all be in the desert.
Yeah.
And let's start picking the grains again.
All right, thank you so much, Professor Ojewuyi, for that response. Now, I'm going to, one of the points Mr. Babajide mentioned is domesticating policy, you know, having law to back it up. Lady Ejiro, would you say that is also one of the real problem that we have? Maybe that's why he's saying the artist should be a form of pressure group, even though Professor Ojewuyi has said through our works, through Stampede, through Cora and all that, we are putting pressure on government. You know, but would you say then that we need enabling law to back up this, you know, government policy so that the artists can actually go all out there and challenge the government?
Are we a country that respects the rule of law?
Are you asking me or everybody?
Every one of us here. That's where we need to begin from. We have so many laws in Nigeria. Some are domesticated, some are not. Where those that domesticated exist, implementation has always been the bane. He rightly noted a point, which is the nature of the persons given the responsibilities to effect, implement, monitor, evaluate, and come back with feedback mechanism, right, to say this is working, are the problem. All of the funding that we've had so far in Nigeria, please, can you tell me one portal, one website that we can go to and say, oh, these are the beneficiaries. These are the projects executed. This is the impact that was made by this project vis-a-vis this. This was a solution this particular app produced by these people actually addressed, or whatever community issues they actually solved, or increase the business revenue, for example, of a given state, a given community, as the case may be. We don't have that data. NBS, the Nigeria Bureau of Statistics, does not have that data. So transparency is part of our problem. And the rule of law demands that there should be transparency. And if the rule of law says you have to be accountable, it means that those managing this ministry, and I can understand his angst, because I feel the same way too. Most of these fundings are not geared to actually help you thrive. They are exploitative. They want to collect from you that have nothing. I'll give you a good example. I'm not going to mention the bank, but I would have loved to mention the bank because I'm ready to take them on, as a matter of fact. I actually did a lot of screenshots and all of that just in case, but I will not mention the bank. This bank, they came in the presentation was, we're going to help you in your creative industry. We're going to help you in publishing. We're going to help you with your IP, intellectual property. We're going to make you have business structure. We're going to develop your accounting systems, your governance business systems. We're going to do all of that for you. I'm like, oh, this is fantastic. So my friend shared the link to me. It was like, Lady, you're doing so much here in this space. I think you need this grant. Now, it was an illusion. It was not a grant. But the language made it sound like it's a grant. So what did I do? I took my time and I went through all the forms. I was filling it step by step. If I didn't understand a word, I get dictionary and I check it very well. If dictionary does not give me enough, I go to AI just to be sure that, because this is a final document I'm signing. And you're talking about my intellectual property. You say you're going to protect it for me. You want me to succeed. I'm like, awesome. And then towards the end of it, in very small letterings, in fact, I need to even tell the people how much the fund is, for goodness sake. The grant, rather, is supposed to be 5 million naira. Peanuts. 1.5 was in one category for something, then another 3.5 for another category for something else. So put together, no, 3 million for something else. 3.5 is correct. There were 5 million. So that's peanuts. Exactly, that's where I'm going to. But it's a bank-facilitated grant. Take note, a grant for 5 million is not bad. If that's a loan, I don't think I want to bother with it. But it's a grant, and I know where we could channel it to. And then in very fine, tiny prints, it says that your intellectual property will become that of the banks. I screenshot this thing, and I forwarded it to the person who shared it with me. I said, did you see this? Did you see this? So if I had been hunger-driven by that peanut, and I thought that was a big money in my mind, if I felt that was a lot of money, I would have fallen for a game that the financial organization in cahoots with a federal arm of government, a ministry, sat down, designed this particular grant, and the only goal they have is not to make me thrive. They want to suck me dry, as though they are actually, what do you call those things that bite you on the neck? Vampires. So we have now, this is why I asked the question, do we even respect the law in this country? The law, the financial law says that if you're going to be a grant organization or offer grant, be very specific and clear about it.
All right.
So this is key.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you. Very cogent points made there. I'm still on about implementation. I'm still on about, I mean, we have laws in Nigeria. Is how to implement them that is a problem. We have policies as well, policy this and all that. Now, would you say, I'm coming to you, my dear brother, would you say that it is the Nigerian factor now, in quotes? Because there is always this thing about Nigeria. Everything, they say, oh, that's the Nigerian factor. How would you be able to identify the Nigerian factor in implementing some of these policies, cultural policies that we have, that is actually stalling the implementation of these policies?
Okay, so now there is this, a new literature prize that just came to the country, which I published today. A lady from the UK came last week because of it, and also part of the opening of Moa Museum in Benin City that was scuttled for political. I think indeed that is also one other thing that ties into this politics trumping common sense, and we keep going in circles and getting nowhere. So this lady who writes for the Financial Times of London came because there's this bank, European Bank for Reconstruction and Development. I just came to Nigeria, Senegal, Kenya, and Benin, and Ivory Coast. And in each of the countries where they operate, they've been operating in Eastern Europe, part of North Africa, and the Middle East. So they just came to these African countries south of the Sahara. So they organized this yearly prize worth 20,000 euro for translation works written in indigenous languages were translated into English. So the writer and the translator share this prize of 20,000 euro. A Polish lady won this year's edition. A few days ago, early this week, the Minister of Education announced to the world at a British Council event in Abuja that the teaching of local Nigerian languages, mother tongues, will no longer, in fact, have been cancelled in Nigerian schools. So you can't use Yoruba, for instance, to teach a child in Lagos, in Oyo, in Ogun. All right? So technically, after those who can write in Yoruba now would have possibly passed, the next generation can't write or read Yoruba in the literate, I mean, they can speak it. I mean, you don't have to go to school to speak. But
yes,
to be able to write it, you need to go to school and learn it properly.
I understand, but I really want you to address that issue of the Nigerianness.
Exactly. Now, just in 2022 here was when they revived the language policy that Professor Bafafuwan set up in 1986 was revived. 2022 here. And in less than, how many years? 3 years? A minister says, no more. So policy flip-flop, policy chaos. We don't know where we are going. We are simply rudderless. So the ministry, like Professor Ojewuyi has said, is just for some people to earn retirement ticket. And that is why our brother here can say, oh, you need to, and he had to wait till when, a few years to retirement before they revived the policy, and then just after, they leave the office and they expect the minister to, why did you not put pressure on the man to work on this policy before you leave office, before you retire? I mean, this policy was 1988. I'm sure he would have been there in the office, in the ministry, all these years. this is not a personal indictment to him, but I'm just saying the mindset. So we are not serious. The ministry having a job in the Ministry of Culture or even education, wherever, it's just an enemy ticket. And let's go, come on.
All right, thank you. Is Mr. Babajide still with us? Mr. Babajide, is he still with us?
Yes, I'm with you.
All right,
I'm with you.
Sorry, I want you to quickly talk about...
Unfortunately...
Hang on, sir. Hello, sir. Can you hear me? I want you to really...
I can hear you.
I'm particularly interested in that disconnect between the Ministry of Culture and the sector, you know, and which, you know, you were part of the ministry, and even though you've retired. But I want to let us understand that disconnect before you react to Professor Ojewuyi's comment. Where is that disconnect?
Let me tell you where the disconnect starts. Most artists don't even understand the governance structure of Nigeria. They lack total, they don't have any understanding of the governance structure of Nigeria. You need to understand the governance structure, how the government structure works in the first place, before you apportion blame. Even at that, at one time in Nigeria,
65 years?
there was a Phillips committee that gave accounting officer job to ministers during Babajide's time. When we joined service, it was the permanent secretary that was the accounting officer. When the ministers became accounting officers, a lot of things went bad in the governance structure. By the time they found out that it was bad and returned the accounting function, accounting officer's function to permanent secretaries, everything had gone horrid, bad. Secondly, when you are a civil servant, you have limitations. You have your own limitations. Your own is to do your job. You have to be seen, not to be heard. Okay. That is part of the civil service rules.
Okay. Right.
Your own is to do your job and follow the procedure and submit whatever policies.
So are you then agreeing with Professor Ojewuyi that we should scrap the Ministry of Culture, for instance, since, you know, we, like you said, we cannot understand, you know, and maybe there is something in the ministry or in that ministry that when, you know, even artists, thriving artists get in there, they get sucked in and then they become the clog in the wheel, like Professor Ojewuyi said. I'm just going to allow him to quickly react to that, because I'm really interested in that. We need to get the disconnect because we are not feeling the impact as, you know, as a sector, you know. So quickly, Professor Ojewuyi, just a quick reaction to that.
I think that, Dr. Chanusi, you actually, you caught him right where, you know, you needed to catch him. Because he just laid the ground for us and gave us all the reasons why the ministry should be scrapped. I mean, he said we do not understand the structure of governance. Well, we know we have a democracy. We know we go to vote. We know we vote in presidents and governors and senators and all of that. We are citizens of the country. How can someone from a government tell us that we do not know how it works for us? I mean, it's just, I'm sorry I responded instantly because it felt like an insult that, you know, artists don't seem to understand. That is not true. There's Dr. Gaga here. He's a writer, a poet, and a lawyer. You know, he's an artist. Yeah. We have so many. And so for anyone to even, you know, say something like that is really disturbing. And that was not an accident. When you get into an institution, you begin to imbibe the culture of that institution. And at some point, you begin to believe that these thoughts are your original thoughts and the only way things can be done. That is the orientation, the culture of governance inside the ministries. We are talking about outside. I'm not saying it is the most reasonable idea that one can proffer, but I'm saying let's try a radical thing. If you keep doing the same thing every day and you expect different results, something is wrong. It has not worked. Let's scrap it. Let's go back to the dry desert and see what happens. Let us die. We're already dying, you know, and those who survive would come up with a new structure. It is useless. Let's face it.
All right.
The ministry is useless.
Thank you so much, Professor Ojewuyi. I'm still going to go back to your earlier point about, even though you said, oh, we don't have to go back to the US or Britain to learn their structure and all of that, but we can borrow. We can always borrow from them. But, you know, just maybe not to guide us, but at least borrow. And why I'm saying that is leading on from your suggestion that we should scrap the ministry, and then, but I'm going to go back to my earlier point of the legal structure, you know, the legal framework, you know, because if you notice, the British Council in England is independent of government, just like you have their broadcast industry is independent, totally independent of government. But in Nigeria, everything is government appointed and all of that, and that's where we see this assimilation, I would say, of the cultural leader, people who are appointed to lead. They are assimilated because they cannot give interview, blah, blah, blah. You know, so would you then say that, you know, going back to scrap the ministry, would you then say it should be a private initiative, or we need a law to back it up? Can you expatiate on that?
Look, we always tend to look too far, when the solutions are always around us. We have examples that we can, if anyone remembers the history of the media, the newspapers were Daily Times, Sketch, and those government-owned newspapers. And then the Guardian, Concord, and those ones, the private interests came in, and so that's when they bloomed. They put down structure, private sector. The same thing with the broadcast media, that is television. You know, NTA was the only one we watched, which was government-owned, and then came in channels and all of that, and now they have grown. The banks that are now putting money and these loan facilities into the arts, they are private. So we have examples of successful private efforts. We are part of the country. The art sector, the cultural sector is part of the country. In the first place, and this is my quarrel with this, you know, that's why I said earlier that the term creative economy should be properly defined. It's a very useful tool, but again, we need to understand what it means for us before we go into its jungle. Because fundamentally, and again, I qualify this by saying this is my own belief, my own thinking. Fundamentally, culture's value to a nation cannot be just quantified or limited to money. It is wrong to start with that or to end with it. A country that does not understand its, you know, the value of its culture for its people is not a nation, really. Because then we are lurching here and there like drunks, you know, without direction. Our culture is the guiding principle that also helps our ethics, and our ethics feed into governance. So if we point fingers at government and saying we are not being led properly, it's because we are all just floundering in different directions. I'm not asking for government to be dogmatic and impose, you know, certain, but you know, we should understand that the value of the arts, because it is through the arts that culture is expressed. And the benefits of culture we live in our everyday lives. So those two are central to our well-being. When we said we got independence, from who?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a matter of just exchanging flags. You know, I was traveling through TBS and I was, you know, saying to my colleague, Professor Park, that look, this is TBS. This is what happened, you know, 9 years ago. It was just changing flags. But the attitudes change. That's the point. Our nation is built, must be built on our own indigenous culture and ethics. And that's where the values of a nation will come from. Not from how much money you make through the arts. If you have that structure in place, then the money will come. And so if government understands that, it becomes its responsibility to dedicate, allocate money to the culture sector. Mr. Mahmoud Ali Balogun is here. He was the president of NANTAP, and we advocated seriously that government should allocate money to NANTAP. We said it's an important sector. We were daring them on so many fronts. That's the one. Maybe Mr. Ajibola was right that we're not a strong pressure group enough, but we have been. The thing is, you do not always. My new thing, which for the art sector and for NANTAP is, NANTAP should have a retainership, for some lawyers. Put money together and we have retainership so that we can call them, and then let's pick on 2 cases, test cases, that we take the government to court on these cases and pursue them at every level. Every level. Whether we succeed in court is another matter. Yeah. But you gain a lot of mileage when you do that. Yes. Then government begins to understand that we are serious and we are going to come back with another case. Let's go to court on these things. Don't cite for me United Nations Convention, whatever, and all of those things. Let's use our own policy and our constitution. There are laws there that support, our thing, and that's where the advocacy comes in.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm going to go to Lady Ejiro, still on the issue of the IP, which is something you said you cited in when you apply for these grants and stuff, and it's been made one of the criteria for this new grant that has been rolled out, and so you see that as a trap. And I don't know how many artists will see that, maybe we share the same view with you, because they don't have the physical cash, they don't have land or whatever as collateral, but they can use that IP, to stand as surety in case they default. But you are saying that's a trap. Could you expatiate a bit on that?
It's a dangerous precedence, in a manner of speaking, if you ask me, because the artist is solely defined by its own creative work. Businesses can have products and services. They can have buildings and structures, right? You can come and take a building, but the business can be moved to another place, isn't it? The products can be stopped, but you can also redesign new products. Fact. You take an intellectual property of an artist, you've taken the license to life, license to survival, license to equalize and play a game as a game changer, as a leverager for that person. So going after people's IP, I think is a dangerous trend, and any mentality or mindset that drives that, I don't think is for the interest of the person. And in this context that I gave an example, the goal was to own your own IP. So we must, as artists now, whether we like it or not, we need to get more financially savvy. We need to begin to understand that business development is a must. And now in the age of AI and digital platforms and all of that, monetization and things like that, I think we should just get more strategic. If we're having a ministry that does not understand, and I'm glad you mentioned that, our culture drives not only our governance systems, it drives our ethics, it drives our values. Okay. How dare you design a policy on November this year to remove language? How dare you? Yeah. Yeah. There should be an opera from all Nigerians, right. Yeah. But what do we meet? Silence. I had the privilege of going to India, and in India they speak 23 recognized languages. And all the students, because I did a documentary, all the students were learning physics in either Urdu or Hindu or any of the languages you can think of that is recognized. Nobody was speaking English and learning IT with English. They were speaking their languages, and that's why they promote them. Publishing thrives in India. Why? Because there are languages in which people can read. Literacy is not defined by the English language. All right. If you are now saying that you are removing IP, this is where I'm going to. Yeah. If you are now saying that language should be removed. And then there is funding for translation and the author that we're talking about. You are now removing, take note, the federal government designed this funding to do what? To generate 100 billion from the creative sector, which means the financial organizations, the private businesses that were introduced as the stopgap or the managers of this particular funding system had done their research. They know there is money in this creative economy. Now, what have they done? They not only tapped into that, they are not telling you, we will give you the carrot and stick treatment. The carrot is in front of you, but we'll be whipping you, but you will never see that carrot. Right. How do you do that to a people with a creative mind?
Hold that thought. I've been told this is a stampede, and therefore I'm going to stampede my senior colleague, Mr. Mahmoud Ali Balogun, to see, please, can you get the mic to him? Because, yeah, particularly on the issue of IP. No, Prof, sit down, it's a stampede. No, I know why. You know, because you are the head of, thank you, God bless you, sir. And that has to do, a lot to do with IP.
All to do with IP.
All to do, so I want your reaction, you know, as regards that.
I think I want to react on, first and foremost, sorry, I'm here late, I've not been around, I just came in yesterday, right? On this government or no government thing, I think I react to that first. Jide, who's speaking from without, is a very good friend and has been there for eons before he retired, I think a year or two ago. Right? The problem is not with government. Who is government, like they say? We are government. The problem is the people implementing whatever is pushed to us. And also how we react to whatever government pushes to us in terms of advocacy, like Segun said. Right? I remember in 1992 or thereabout, that Babajide wanted to introduce endowment for the arts, the demand for the arts. NANTAP single-handedly stalled that launch. Why? Because we reacted and they responded. Right? That is absent today. You see, a lot of us get into government and we just coast along. The government expects us, government now being those in charge, expect us to put them through. I've had situations where I've been dealing with government since eons, right? Jide himself, I remember when Lai was there, we put a document together, right, with some people who have knowledge. Until Lai left, nothing happened, right? The civil servants, including Jide and some others, Grace Gekbe, and the people you know, what did they do, right? People want to protect their job. They just want to coast along until they retire, right? It's the people who go in there. Yes, your boss will react to you that, oh, this. But if everybody begins to react positively, government will change. I have a friend, Murtala Sule. He left Ministry of Information because the ideas they are pushing to him couldn't work. What he was pushing couldn't work. So he resigned, and it's in the private sector. Now, coming to the issue of IP, it's an interesting one. You see, you mentioned something that some people have done their research and they seen the 100 billion. It's a joke. What 100 billion are you talking about? What structures are on ground to harness that 100 billion? Yes, gold is everywhere until you begin to dig and refine before you get the value from the gold, right? The challenge with us in this country, right, is that there is no advocacy for most things happening. People make noise about Showore and all that, but he's drawing attention to some of the ills in our society. It's making progress, whatever people want to say of him. In the arts, what are we doing? I remember in the days of NANTAP, Segun is here, so people are here. Chief I. Imokwede, elder, is an old man now. He called us that we are not nuisance enough. So we had no nuisance value. Nuisance value means challenging whatever government is throwing at you. Tony Okoroji then called us paper tigers because almost every week were reacting to one wrong thing by a government. And it got to a point that whenever government wanted to do anything, they call us, who were involved. So what am I saying? On the issue of IP, I think more advocacy needs to be done. I heard of the Audiovisual Rights Society of Nigeria, where we give out money that we collect from people who are using our works.
Yeah, I have a witness.
Do you know that most people don't even register? They don't even come to us. I keep saying, I won't beg anybody to come and collect money. The number we have, the more money they will get. The money is out there. We need to work together to get the money. Because every hotel, every place where they are using any creative work, for in this case, audiovisual work, films, drama, television programs, wherever they are using it, we'll go to them, pay a fraction, less than 0.05% of what you are charging to us annually, so that we can redistribute to artists, indigent ones, the ones who have done something that they are not getting anything on. Now, on this issue of IP, it's something that's been there. The last time I worked with DSTV, from the days of when they were just Mnet, I think that was in 1998. That's the last time I worked with them. There are some clauses they inserted into the contract that they wanted me to sign. Every other person has signed. And I looked at them and I said, no, I'm not going to sign this. It took them bringing the people who initiated the thing from South Africa. We sat together, we agreed. I said, no, this should be this should be this, right? You have to look, like you said earlier, a magnifying glass to look at whatever is thrown at you. If you don't understand, get professionals. But we are all greedy. We want all the money to come to you. You have lawyers, you have accountants who can help you look at whatever contract they throw at you. For that, I've not worked with them since 1998 because I raised some things as regards to the contract. Our people are signing till date. There's a challenge we are facing in AVRS today because of the contracts people have signed. What do I mean by that? You have signed everything out, even for the future, right? We go to some of these broadcasters, we go to some of these users and say, look, they throw it in your face what the people have signed. So when they've signed, what can you do? So we need to begin to re-educate ourselves, right? Advocacy by the groups. I don't want to say just groups, right? Mr. Aderoku is there, he's written so many books. You know what I'm saying? And people are pirating them. And things are in place today for you to get some kind of redress as regards those work. Do people know?
Okay. So, thank you, sir. We have to reiterate Elder Frank Haigi-Mokode's notion of being nuisance enough. And I think that has dropped, so we need to pick it up. Yeah, quickly, Stampede.
The first thing I want to react to when he talked about the recent prize that will be coming to Nigeria. Okay, one of the things that came to mind is if they do the translation of indigenous works or works written in indigenous languages, to whom does the copyright belong after that? Because we celebrate the 20,000 pounds or euros, are questions being asked, or perhaps if documents are read such that if they took the work that I've written in Yoruba and they translate it to English or to any language in Europe, who gets that copyright if it is translated in those languages? So while we're celebrating the 20,000 euros, those works are going to be there and they know how to really push it into the European market. And some of these works, I'm just saying that came to mind. That's one. In respect of our friend that talked earlier, I worked for a very good number of years with Radio Nigeria. I started my broadcasting career there. Absolutely fantastic experience, winning 2 awards there. But I resigned because I was angry with the nonsense being done there. And I make bold to say it here. You expect me to deliver. If I wasn't good enough for the job, the commendations would never have come. I put in the best of my ability. But the more you try to do the best to help the image of this great country, they mess it up. In 2023, sir, the culture industry for the United Kingdom generated 124 billion pounds. If you go to Italy, over 112 billion euros. The US, in excess of 1.3 trillion US dollars. Nigeria, 2024, between 9 to 14 billion dollars. And we are the most populous black nation. You said certain things that are very significant. See, I'm very angry here because I don't know if that man is still online. I have worked with the federal government of this country. I've been privileged to lecture at a state university here.
No, let us respect our panelists.
I'm respecting
him. His name is Babajide.
Okay, I'd have loved to speak with him.
Yes.
Because when he talks about not understanding the dynamics within government system, I have worked there for years. I left because I found out that many things that God has given to me and that I've been trained to help my country with would die if I remained there. I remember when I put in my resignation, one of my very wonderful bosses was a director that said, Kunu, have you thought about it? I have thought about my life long ago. Right. And I took a walk. So what I'm saying is, we have to. Then I found out, sir, my boy, many of us within the creative industry are very proud people. But many of us are poor, despite the value we've added. And I'm using this opportunity that will walk on the path that my big brother there has advised. Nobody watches NTA because you see your head down. Immediately we have the emergence of many private media organizations. NTA became exposed. Sir, one of the things, I got serious queries. I have queries. Because I just refused to listen. I was tired of what they're doing.
Thank you.
Please, let's start fighting.
All right.
It's a stampede.
Yeah, it is a stampede.
If we all resign from government, where will the government be?
Yeah.
Right. That's the point. Right. You see, if we will resign, I think what is important is that we all need to continue to fight from within and from without.
I agree with you totally. I'm just going to take more reaction. It's a stampede. Let's go over here. I see you. But I organize you. And then I'll come to you. We need to take more reaction and then we can then come back to the panelists.
Okay. My reaction is more of a question.
Okay.
Actually, to Lady Echiru. I'll be speaking both as an artist and as a finance expert. So when the example you cited about the grant and the
small print about the IP.
About the IP, I find it very disturbing. And I believe if it is the case, because my question is, I'm familiar and aware of IP financing, which has to do with credit facility. So if a bank is lending an artist or a creative company, that IP is a security. It's a form of securing the facility because the facility is the depositor's fund. So that is already in practice in many advanced economies. Yeah. And it's been piloted in Nigeria. But if a grant, for instance, if it's a work for hire, for instance, if they are commissioning the artist to work for the organization, for the IP is owned by the principal. So if an artist is being granted a grant, it's called a grant, and the IP is taken away, at the end of this stampede, I think we should just go to wherever that funding is coming from.
Be nuisance enough
and be nuisance, exactly.
Okay,
so
fine.
I just want clarification on that, whether it's IP financing or a grant. Thank you.
All right. Okay, quickly, before you answer, I'm going to go to that gentleman.
Yeah, my name is Abimbola Agbolwaje.
Sam, yes.
Okay, I may say things that you don't like, but so I'll say I'm only 28 years old, not very knowledgeable, so excuse whatever I say that I don't like. But I think what ministry can you go to in Nigeria and you say, wow, this is an oasis of excellence? The difference between artists who are in the air with ideas, radicalism, proud people, and all other people who need to feed their family and grow their business is they sit down and carve out a strategy. Mr. Akionsho has his legs in two aspects of the economy, arts and oil and gas. So it can say a lot about the frustrations people in oil and gas face, but how they've sat down to cover the strategy to manage the nonsense in government. I'm a bit disturbed when you say they should scrap the Ministry of Culture. When you tell that to a government, they think, oh, these ones are not serious. Egbon here said advocacy. Often, and it's everywhere in the world, the people in an industry know far more than that industry, than the government. Is that your responsibility? Do you want to be proud and say they should go to hell, or have a strategy to convince the Oga who has some interest in shining, and have, develop strategies to cage in all those chopping, or, let them do it better? That's what we need to do. And Mrs. Mukoro, sorry, you are the only business person I know who keeps on bashing banks. You need money from them. So I don't believe she judged from a single experience and say they're not useful to you. They are. All over the world, there's a tight link between people in finance. They give a lot of money for free just to be seen to be doing good. And they also finance arts industry. You have to find a way to deal with them. And they both said it so clear, so well. We don't admit our failures and we just get angry. Maybe what you need to do is to go to IP lawyers or hire one for your industry so you can make money. You don't get angry. And the last thing I'll say, sir, is we need to, when we say culture, it's a broad space. You need to identify the commercial aspect, the feedstock, museum, little arts fair festivals, that the government has a responsibility to fund with small money. And separated from the commercial aspect, that is business, that we get somewhere. The last thing I would say is... No,
I'm not. Just hold on to the last thing. Hold on to the last thing. Just a quick one here, and I'm going to go to Mr. Babajide online so that he's not, he doesn't feel excluded. Can you pass on the mic to Eriata? Yes, I know him.
Okay, my name is Eriata. Thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity. While I was coming, I thought it's just a regular talk. But today, I really...
Because I'm here, I'm in charge.
I thank God that at least I'm here. I'm a poet. I write poetry. And I actually started writing poetry first in Pidgin English, before I started writing in English. I've done several works in both prose, poetry, and let me just say the genres of literature. I'm really pained by what has happened today, what you just mentioned. I heard it before, coming here, that the language of the immediate community that we are supposed to build upon is being struck out from the language policy in this time and age. For the first time, I was privileged to translate a book for the Swedish government, and I made some money. So I was so happy for the first time, a retiree making some good money because I translated just a small children literature. So I started seeing that the future will be so bright. Now, people within the government in this country at this time and age will say they should take away Yoruba and the languages that we know. Pidgin, that you even go to ATM, you can click in Pidgin. Then all the media houses are using Pidgin. Then you say, we don't want that again. Who are these people doing this? This is why we are wondering whether we are in the same country. Sure, you understand what I'm saying? It's really touching, really. But we are going to have the Niger Excellence Conference in Abuja. We had last year, Niger Helele, organized by Niger Language Network at the University of Ibadan, frontlined by Professor Ekbohari. So it's going to hold in, you are at the second session, or the second edition, holding on the 26th. All right,
thank you for that information.
Just let me just round up. On that 26th, we are going to be talking of Pidgin. Right. Does that mean that all what we're going to do there useless?
Scrapped, yeah.
Thank you.
So thank you very much. Yes, I'm going to, so that, okay, Prof. Okay. So that it doesn't seem as if we are excluding Mr. Babajide. Can we get Mr. Babajide back, Adishola? Are you with us, Mr. Babajide?
Ajibola, Babajide,
Ajibola Babajide. All right, I mean, you can hear from everyone here saying that the ministry should be... Hello, sir, can you hear me? All right, just a quick one.
I can hear you.
A quick one. I think, have they been able to convince you that Ministry of Culture should be scrapped, or you still hold your view that, you know, we don't know what we're talking about because we don't understand what goes on in the ministry?
Let me start from Segun. He said something about drunken man lurching around. If they scrap a ministry, the lurching drunken man will enter the gutter and swallow his vomit and choke to death. So if they scrap the ministry, that is what will happen to the creative arts. So I'm taking his comparison. I'm taking it further. He's saying that a drunken man lurching around drunk. That's what is happening. But if you scrap the ministry, that drunken man will choke on his vomit and enter the gutter. Secondly, I listened to Mahmood. Before I retired, I worked with Mahmood on Mobicom Bill. The movie, draft this thing. It has been there for more than 20 years. Nothing has been done. Myself and Mahmood, late Ayam Osigwe, Afolabi Adesoya, and the former MD of Nigerian Film Corporation worked on it in the ministry. And we delivered on it to Minister Lai Mohammed. Nobody has asked about the Mobicom Bill. In fact, myself and Jaman were in Dubai 3 years ago. He told me that we should share that document. So one of the problems that we have is always division among the practitioners, the creatives. Why some supported the Mobicom Bill, some are against it. So that thing is dead on arrival. So you cannot blame the ministry. The ministry has done its job. So you cannot scrap the ministry because we do our own job.
All right, sir.
Secondly, the culture policy was... Let me finish. I'll just give me a minute.
Okay.
I want to go and watch Nigeria match in Congo myself. So the other issue, I talk about conventions. If you know what the conventions, UNESCO conventions can do for the creative arts, you will leave that place now and go to the National Assembly that it should be domesticated into our laws. A lot of people have never even read the convention. They don't understand it. I'm not being disrespectful when I say they don't understand the governance structure. I'm not being disrespectful. It's the truth. It was the truth 40 years ago when I joined the ministry in 1985. It's the truth today, 40 years later. So that is where I rest my case. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We have some reaction from online, and let's quickly, so that we don't exclude them to their part of the Stampede. Can someone quickly read that if they have any question or comments? Can you read it for me?
Okay, we have a comment from Ajayi Shoyinka, and he said, on the question of copyright, numeration of translated works, I think we should endeavor to choose and work with translators of our works. The late Ngugi wa Thiong'o stated that we should develop further and improve upon. When he decided to stop writing in English, he had his own translator. I think that's all the person has said.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm going to come back in here, and I have another comment. Translator has no rights. Yes, it's the original work. Yeah, the original thought. Dr. Gaga, please, quick.
Well, I was going to start from there, what Mahmoud just clarified, which is that the copyright belongs to the creator, the artist, the writer, unless it is assigned. And under the copyright law, assignment has to be express. Written. You can't just orally say you assigned your copyright. And I know that there's a lot of confusion as to what exactly constitutes copyright, but the Copyright Act is very clear on that. And it's not very difficult to understand. I will urge every writer, artist to please familiarize themselves with the Nigeria Copyright Act. I'm saying it because we have sued for copyright protection a number of big, MTN twice, and the Sun, use of photograph, for instance, on their page 3, the Sun Girl, and one. So that's that. Copyright belongs to the creator. Not translation is a derivative act. You derive it from the original, work. Now, that said, about the language thing, I think we should calm down a little bit because I did read the minister's statement as was reported. What I would like to know is this. Is this saying that indigenous languages, mother tongues, will not be taught in schools or that it will not be used as a language of instruction? If it is just that it will not be used as a language of instruction, the reasons he gave, I tend to sympathize with them. But then he also said, anybody who has arguments, persuasive arguments to the contrary, they should come up with them. But that they have empirical reasons for discontinuing the policy of mother tongue as a language of instruction because of the mass failures that were coming. So, of course, we have a peculiar Nigerian problem. If English is the official language, and it is generally the language of instruction, and more, the things that we should be teaching are getting more abstruse, is technical, it's not just the language of everyday communication. Imagine trying to translate some of those like quantum physics. Yeah. How are you going to explain this in indigenous language? I'm just giving a random example. So for me, I write my language, Isoko, and I read it. But I've also even argued that those who think that when they write in Pidgin, it means they are reaching the people, they are wrong. Because if you don't understand English, you can't even read Pidgin. And sometimes, if you haven't lived in an environment where Pidgin is spoken, you will have had difficulty actually reading Pidgin. Now, for people like us who come from Delta State and who went to secondary school in Warri, Pidgin are food, So there's no way you are going to speak and we understand it. But for a whole lot of people, it isn't the same thing. So the same problem of literacy you might have with English is what really, maybe just a step removed, or depending on where you are, even more complicated that you will have with Pidgin, written, not spoken, written, as a written language. I'm trying to make that distinction. So I think we should calm down, find out more about this indigenous language thing. Then lastly, let us also turn the heat on the private sector, well-to-do individuals. We know that a whole lot of the great art and literature that was created in Europe was funded by patrons. Artists and writers have tended always, historically, to be poor people, indigent, but they have patrons. Yes. Now, we don't have to do it in the old classical way. But when we're talking about foundations, why uber-rich people set up foundations that promote the arts, that we give grants, not wanting to take the IP of the artist or the writer, but just to promote art, residencies, sculptors, painters who can just be in residence, work for 3 months, 6 months, and nobody is saying they want to take. All they ask for is acknowledgement. I have benefited from residencies. One of the earliest residencies I got, when I was, I think, 30, was at the Heinrich Böll Foundation in Germany. And I benefited from other ones. So I think we should also get the private, talk more to them, preach this to them. The advocacy should also go to them. Government, I'm very, very suspicious of, always, even with the best intentions. So the last thing I would say is that what heat we should put on the government is that there should be autonomy in the implementation and administration of whatever grant or policies that they have. There should be absolute autonomy. Those who will administer them, those who will run them, should be drawn from the ranks of artists, the ranks of people who are enlightened, who are cultural enthusiasts, who will do the right thing by artists and thereby do the right thing by the country.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Ogaga. All right. I'm going to just, because I've been told that I have, very few minutes left, I'm going to stampede Mr. Tony Akiosho because if he doesn't put his voice in, can we have the mic? We can. Yeah, no. But he opened the session, but he hasn't contributed. Just a short contribution to all that we're discussing, and then we'll bring it to a close.
I went on vacation. I took advantage of a conference. I took the advantage of a conference in Cape Town last month, and did a bit of vacation, about a week, and the story kept on coming on headlines that, a certain guy called his surname is McKinsey. Gavin McKinsey or something. He's a minister of culture, and that he had, paused funding the festivals in South Africa all over, the National Festival in Grahamstown, the blah, blah, blah. And it was a big story, and they thought, So I was asking myself, but no one funds any festival here. I don't know that German has applied, or maybe I don't know, or maybe the chairman is talking now to someone in the ministry. But we don't, the closest thing to government that we have, in terms of assistance is the Freedom Park. They are very generous, so you could say that in a sense, the Lagos State government helps. But that's very unofficial in a way, people who run Freedom Park, that sort of thing. It's not really something that you are allowed to really have access to officially, So the point I'm making is that we have taken the view that there's no government. And really, I would have voted, Jide Ajibola is my first cousin. And I talk all the time. I actually said he shouldn't be here. That he's one of them, So his mom is my aunt, the 95-year-old lady he was posing with on Facebook yesterday. So it's not like where I don't know him. But the point is that, all of these characters, I just see them as the same. They play games, they are the potholes, they are the chokeholes in the... Someone was talking about oil and gas, or Henrietta, who retired from DPR, rich man, knows that the DPR is a chokehold for approvals. Exactly. Maybe that man is a contractor in oil and gas. Maybe he runs an operating company. He knows the story. This man used to be finance manager at Chevron. You know that the kind of thing that you have to
publisher,
do.
why are you exposing them?
I'm just saying that these characters are the same everywhere, the reason why the oil industry might be able to handle it, which is what Bimbo was saying, is that, okay, they make a lot of money, so they can bribe, they can say, okay, don't worry, you take this, $100,000 here, you can go to Spain, But, a struggling artist won't be able to do that to directors. I know cases of, ministry officials who took art on tours, and those pieces disappeared. They just assume that it is theirs naturally. It's a very difficult position. So Cora had always taken the position that there was no government. So when I saw that piece, that in the South African newspaper, I had to keep it. Because I don't know who you go to for any funding here. It's a basic thing, but that newspaper kept on running it as if it was a problem, where every theater facility in Cape Town or whatever will get something from the federal purse. Even if it's, you understand, you are running something, you apply to the, to the national blah, 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 for every one of them gets something. But we don't even think about it here. German is struggling now. He's trying to call one of the sponsors. That's how we roll. So, we're just doing this because we've all agreed that we should talk about funding.
All right.
But in real terms, Segun Ojewuyi is right. Scrap the ministry. Thank you.
Thank you. But then, having said that, I'm going to call on German to wrap up. But again, you are also saying that the National Council for Arts and Culture, which we have a director for and all that, they should scrap it. Yes. All right, German.
Thank you very much. I'm not a radical, but all these radical people, I support them. Actually, I've made up my mind there will never be government support for anything. If anything they put their hand in, they destroy. I don't know if you have seen on the screen where the minister said they now want to own Dirty December. Dirty December, it was something that just came on its own. Now you want to own. The moment they come in, it's dead. Please, they should stay in their Abuja. Sorry, they should stay in their hole there. Let us do whatever. We've run this festival for 27 years. As Tony Agunsho said, this is the only support we get. In fact, there was where we wanted to honor Fashola. We did. The trophy is still in our library. We have a library here. Because I knew him, we walked through all his staff. He said the man will come. At the time I was, so I got desperate and I called the number, and they said he was at the airport traveling out. That is disrespect. Yeah. I'm not even sure I'm not older than him. You are. Not to talk of this one. Yeah, okay. Yeah. I will never be a governor.
Can you draw this to an end?
They just.
No, these people don't know.
Come back. You know, the fact that I have all these people around me, they can bear. So, anyway, that's the thing. There will never be government. I think we should just keep on doing what we're doing. Okay, let me make this reference. I hope nobody will report to her. Lagos International Theatre Festival is going on. Bolanle Austin Peter, we all know. She invested so much money on those things. They closed the entire road and things. The governor came. They had not even gotten to the point of giving an award. The governor left. This man had worked 1 year to put that show together, but the governor had to go to a dinner party or something. When the governor, by the time they will be doing that event next year, the governor will be campaigning for election. He will never be there. It will never be gazetted. That's why we have all the legacies of Ambode, who is the most culture-friendly governor. Honestly, whatever you say about Ambode politically, that's the most art-friendly governor. And I can mention them. Built theater, installed all those funny artwork that Tony Agojo went to abuse him in front of his wife. You know, he did a lot of things just to put culture on the... That's somebody for you. He was just doing it. Maybe because he had the Steve Ayorin day. John Randall Center. There was nothing that man did not do. When this governor came, he said, I'm not interested. They killed it. I worked on the Lagos Black Heritage Festival for 6 years of my life. By the time, under Fashola, when Ambode came, they were not interested because there was no money to be made. Now they are doing land grabbing. If you are not careful, Freedom Park, I hope they will give us this play next year. Freedom Park may be gone. Because the commissioners are struggling, they want to, because Freedom Park is under water, environment, building infrastructure, Ministry of Food and whatever. They want to take over. They've gone to John Randall Center, they want to take over. They even slapped somebody. So there's a slapper and the slapper's tail. You know, there is a play that is coming. So I don't think government should be involved in anything. If they cannot create the environment, they should go. The reason why we chose that topic is because I knew that it would be audio. Jide Ajibola is listening, we don't agree on this. I said it's audio. When we spoke about it, why don't you just make the, we told Lai Mohammed to just, I said if you launch the culture, just make the, we told Lai Mohammed to just, I said, if you launch the cultural policy officially, you'll be the most important. I mean, everybody will remember you. Officially, you'll be the most important. I mean, everybody will remember you. They never did. 8 years. Yeah. This one has come. Bleep, 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 bleep. Nothing. They will not do anything. There will be no cultural policy. So we spent about 6 months now writing the new cultural policy. We are at the dead end now. By next year, they are campaigning for election. Yeah. So we just wasted, I'm not doing it again. They can go with it. There was a time I wrote to them, I said, do not ever invite me to your cultural policy. If you Jide Ajibola can bear me with it. I said, because, Jide, you know, I said, I've discovered that it was the meal ticket for all of you in the ministry, including you and the late George Uford. All live in hotel. In fact, let me say this. The first thing they will do, when we meet for the meeting, the first thing they will discuss, who is hiring the hotel? The first day, who is providing the food? Who is doing the bag? You know the story of the bag. Now one lady wanted to slap me over bag. It's on the last day when you are, and they check you out on Sunday morning so that you can go from the conference to the hotel. The last day was when we now discussed the Pronagic. I said, please do not ever invite me to your cultural policy thing. I said, I'm now steeped in the corruption. You are staying in a hotel. They give me some small money, chop their food. Jide is laughing. I said, don't invite me again. So I did this one on behalf of invited us to do this. So we wrote the cultural policy. It will be ready when the minister is out of office. Thank you very much. I just said to put that in. I'm not looking for a job from them, so I can say whatever I want. That's the advantage of being retired like a chairman. Please, there's something we normally do to wrap up. This is the last plenary. We had, I think we had about 36 plenaries in this whole 1 week festival. This is the very last, but it's the most important for us. And you can see the passion with which people spoke. And whatever we take away from here is our prognosis for the future. So when we leave here, we're supposed to go downstairs and launch LABAF 28.0, 28th edition on the stage. But I went down there, and when I saw the environment is commotion, Fuji House of Commotion, too many drunkards downstairs. I think we should just do our event and just launch it there. Then we can then go there and eat pepper soup. I'm not saying Freedom Park is a beer parlor. You go and report me so. Yeah, you can't do anything sensible down there now. There are people who say they come for LABAF. They will get there and they never come upstairs. Olivier, are you laughing? So thank you very much. We will do this. Tony, you are not ready for this, but I will summon you to speak on the next year theme. And then the chairman will wrap up, and then we'll go downstairs for. Thank you. Just under 10 minutes, we'll finish it. And we bring all our volunteers there. Eh?
Can we go?
No, you can
questions.
Go. Eh? Which question again?
No. You can carry on. You know, the lady B is here, so you can have interaction.
We can shift you here. Thank you very much. Ejiro, I have to thank. Oh, Chairman, come please. I have to thank Ejiro especially because she had to fly in from the abroad, just to be part of this stampede, this whole festival. Thank you. Thank you, Ejiro. So we just take a quick picture, and then Tony Akensho will take us through. And all the volunteers should be in this room. All the volunteers, should be in this room.
Uncle German, return our Ejiro to us.
Ejiro, return to your people. Jide Ajibola, thank you very much. I'll put you under. You know you are retired too, so they can't sack you anymore. So please, Tony Akensho on LABAF 28.0. Attention, please. Just a 5-minute thing.
Every year, we wrap up the Lagos Book and Arts Festival by unveiling the theme of the next Lagos Book and Arts Festival. So we've been talking about, the themes of the last 5 years have been basically around optimism, hope, reset. They've been very gentle exhortations to, we had a fork in the road, we had fracture, we've had hope is a stubborn thing, breakout. 2 years ago it was, last year it was breakout, hope is a stubborn thing. This year it's, change, imagining alternatives. When we had the plenary session where we had the keynote address, the keynoter spoke passionately about how we should all collectively work to get out of this political and social ecosystem that chokes everybody, including the elites themselves, you know. You have a very small number of Nigerians we don't even have 1%, really. I mean, because if you're talking about 1%, you're actually talking about 2.3 million people. I'm not sure that there's that number of people who earn anything higher than 1.5 million naira a month. I'm not sure. So we don't really have a so-called 1%, you know. So this is a broken society. But, you know, our themes are basically focused on not just Nigeria, but the globe. The globe itself is trending towards dystopia more than utopia. So we decided that we will choose a theme that basically will begin to signal a concept of repair, you know. So, I mean, the thinking is, that's not my name, I'm not Akinsho, I'm Akinsho. So the idea is thinking big about small things, you know. So you begin to repair bit by bit, you know. Even if you are outside of government, you repair some things in your own space. We don't want to use the word repair. In the oil industry, there's something they call walkover. If you're walking over a well, it's actually you are intervening, you know, you clean the valves, you clean certain things, and, you know, you just say, well, walkover, but essentially you're repairing. If you acquire a field that, you know, had been shut in for the last 20 years, you know, the first thing is to walk over one of the wells, and you can start production. And that's the thing, you know, that's the way we think, that after all of those fractures by Trump and Netanyahu and Tinubu and all of these characters who have broken the system in the world all over the place, we need to begin the process of repair. So the theme of LABAF 2026,
Light. There's a reason we did. Kini Tumo. You have to explain it. He has explained it now. He said walk over. He has explained it now. Anyway, we're going to put up
after LABAF, that we basically explain, and then we start putting together the books. No, we don't struggle. I mean, it's we're deliberately not using the word repair, but I just explained that walkover is repair. You know, that's what it is, right? That's my man.
What you're saying is that in the last 6 years, we've been, in fact, there was a time somebody reminded us that we're always talking about darkness. Everything about struggle, about darkness, challenges. You people not thinking of light. So this year we came up with the idea of imagining alternative. Because we can't just be critics. I always tell people that Quora is ideological. That's why we can't do the popular thing that people do. It's the fact that we're using open air and we're in this kind of environment because we're ideological. We are not looking for 1 million, 1,000 people, because that's not what you get. That's not, you are just wasting your energy. If you are looking for 1 million people we train in the theater, we know the best theater is one where you are not using microphone. Segun Ojewuyi is there. His actors now, they will go and put microphone. That's not an actor. You are there as an actor, you can't use your voice. Thank you, Segun. I've yapped you now because you yapped me yesterday. I don't yap him back. He was abusing me yesterday, I've abused him now. So that's what we're saying, that, look, we rather make impact on the little people that we have here. So the next ritual, having launched that, is to say that if you see my tummy so big and Mr. Akinsho's tummy so big, by the time you meet our chairman, you know that he's the only one working. We are just... I'd like to call on the people who run this festival. Adufe, She will introduce the next thing.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Oyindamola Olatokun, also known as Adufe Onibata. Now, before I begin, I would like to have everyone on stage, all the volunteers, please come up stage. All the book trekkers, volunteers, please come up stage. Amazing. Thank you. All right, good evening, everyone. We are CVC, which is Cora, it stands for Cora Volunteer Corps. So we have been the engine room of LABAF and Cora, if we are permitted to say so. So we try our best to make sure that the festival runs smoothly. We try to get all the venues ready for the event. We try to get our guests accommodated. We try to get them welcome into the program of the day. We try to feed them sometimes if we have the money. We give them water if Mr. German allows. So we would like to thank Cora, we would like to thank LABAF for the opportunity that they've given to us as youth to be able to be the face of the organization, to be able to be the face of the festival. We're so grateful. Thank you so much, Mr. German. Thank you, Mr. Toyi. Thank you, Green Queen. And to our Gen Z chairman, we say thank you, sir. Thank you so much for everything. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your guidance, your counselor, your prayers. Thank you so much. We're so grateful. So on behalf of the Cora Volunteer Corps, we have a gift for our chairman, our Gen Z chairman. We call him our Gen Z chairman because he's a young man. So please, we would like to unveil this and present it to our chairman. Once you unveil it, then we would. So Chief Kayode Adereokun would like to welcome you on stage to present this beautiful piece to you. We say thank you so much. We love you so much, sir.
We love you, sir.
Yes, sir. So the artwork is by TJ Webster, Mr. Tijani. I'm sure he's somewhere around, maybe doing something. Is he here? He's not here. So this piece was made by him, and we decided to get one for our Gen Z chairman. Thank you so much. So here, sister.
Good evening, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. There are moments that, however resourceful you are, you'll be lost for words. This is one of such moments. Fortunately, I'm surrounded by very brilliant people, very gracious people, very generous people. I will have to borrow vocabulary from the house. We are doing extraordinary exploits. Because I belong to the corporate world, I know the kind of resources we deploy to get this kind of effect. And our strength, and these are the people. I have plenty of resources in this room. I keep wondering all the time, in this age and time of so many distractions, where you find of brilliance, intellect, and sacrifice, like you found all around us, especially in this. Yeah. I mean, at the risk of sounding occasionally gray and dark, we not only in Nigeria, in the world of today, there's so much uncertainty, so much darkness, that I would say it's so refreshing to find a crop of young and dedicated people, like we found in these young people. I don't call them volunteers. I call them our young. And I sometimes reflect, I wonder, what is motivating these people? I don't want to tell you the stories of things that are happening all around us, you know. Some of them don't live in this geographical area. They take 3, 4 buses to get here. And who will betide them if they come late? I won't say somebody who will not actually meet some of them sometimes at the point of weeping because they did not follow instruction. So my heart is full of gratitude because I don't know where you get the strength from, where you get the inspiration from, where you get the guidance, but I can assure you about one thing. You'll be blessed beyond. And I will make a confession, you know. Ever since I got involved with Cora, I've not gone any poorer. Poorer. Through, you know, I think I need to buy some vocabulary because I seem to be running out of them, you know. But I have friends here that are so loaded. Dr. Gaga, Ifowodo. Even Lukman Sanusi, I know I cannot falter if I have people like you around to borrow me vocabulary. But this is not a night for plenty of talk, except to express gratitude on behalf of the board and management of Cora and our other partners. And you see, we have a dilemma now. Instead of our program to be shrinking because of the economy, it's expanding. Sometimes astronomically. Everybody wants to identify with us. We'll be shrinking, yet we are growing. And it's not through our own device. God will bless you people. Amen. Yeah. sometimes have to overlook our flaws, because, I mean, we are human. Our flaws, we cannot appreciate you enough. And that goes for our partners. Some of them are here, some are not here. But they are just incredibly wonderful people. So our heart is full of gratitude. So we shall be hearing great news about all of you. You don't know the limits of the grace of God. You will not know it. So I think my vocabulary is running out. Green Queen, I did not want to say anything before, but we have to spotlight you. Green Queen is a very poetic name. And you're a very poetic lady too. I'm wearing green because of you today. And you are most deserving of that coloration. With all the symbolism of green, we shall continue to go greener. Incidentally, we had a small celebration for her earlier today, just to, in our own small way, to acknowledge how phenomenal she had been to this organization. I said one thing to her and her immediate associates. What we find so difficult to do, and I'm sure all of you have encountered this too, to organize children and young adults. Because I come from the corporate world, I know how much it costs us. I know how many experts we contract. I know how many retreats and overseas training we do for people just to handle what you and your friends, what you do so easily, so seamlessly, effortlessly, as if it's nothing. We can only say, God will bless you. Amen. So my vocabulary is running out. You are going to give me some. Okay. So we just want to thank you again. We are doing the 20th year of the Green Festival. She is the embodiment of the Green Festival. So, Auntie Jola, we thank you. So, German, our lives are complicated. Our lives are complicated because of German. I sometimes wonder whether it's thoroughly human or there are things that are mechanical. You know, I think it's AI, you know. Because he doesn't sleep, he thinks everybody else should not sleep. You know, and some of my people can attest to it. You can. You are even saying it in front of him. Well, you have done too much for us. And we're even afraid that you are going to do much more. That's why we are very, very willing to just say thank you. You see the combination of himself and Tony Akyosho is incredible, to say the least. Oga Tony, oh yeah, come. Come. How they manage each other, we don't know. We don't know, and we don't want to know. I don't know. But they are phenomenal. Phenomenal human beings, phenomenal. And you see the intellectual depth that they drive is formidable. Tony, on one hand, is scholarly, he's dedicated, and highly dramatic. On the other hand, I won't talk again. So, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, these people are the symbolism, the expression of depth, intellect, insight, and vision. So I want all the distinguished ladies and gentlemen here present to please help me say thank you to them.
Thank you, sirs. Thank you, Daddy.
They make us look good, that we don't even do anything. They do all the work. And I think it's God who has prophetically told me that some people are going to be doing all the work. I'm going to be getting all the money. So I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. They are just extraordinary people. So, German has this hold on me. He will start signaling with his eyes, looking at me with bad eye, you know, when I'm talking, because he knows that I can overtalk. And he has been doing that since. So I think for safety purposes, I think I want to hand over the mic. But I have to mention Osazde too. I cannot. Osazde, please come out. Osazde, I think I can bully. I can pull the rank of age. That's one thing that you find out when you are 75. You get away with almost everything. And everybody indulges me. Everybody. Everybody indulges me, so I thank you. And I thank you all for the fabulous celebration of my birthday. I mean, what more does a man want at 75? You're giving me everything and more. So I say thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
I think my vocabulary has finished.
A big round of applause for the chairman. Please, can give us a standing ovation for us. Anyway, you know, while I was signaling to the chairman, after the whole festival, I said, we can't just go home like that, that he was setting up an assume party for us tonight. So when we leave here, we're going downstairs for the poetry and then for assume and palm wine and coke. So a big round of applause for the chairman. We bought goat too. And I'm happy that you have introduced virtually everybody that we need to introduce. But I'd just like to quickly thank our media friends at Note, who we also contributed to be a jury. Tay Agbede has done 2 documentaries for us. All our media team, Olaitan, Timothy, Adeola, everybody, Lepo, everybody who has been part of this whole experience. So we don't want to miss our Asun. So we go downstairs and there will be Asun and then there will be party. Okay, we need to take pictures. Shola Samuel, Toyin Akinsho. I forgot to introduce, because we are looking for you. They are if you see all our branding, TJ.
Yes, done a very good job.
On loan to us from UVA. Where's Ayo Gani? I think he has stepped out. Wait. Sorry, please, 1 second. 1 second. Please, all those people who call me and disturb my life, we have shifted the problem to this lady. This is now the admin officer of Kora, Temidayo, Ajiboye. So please, direct all the problems to her, not me. She'll be working more with Samuel as a program officer. So thank you very much. Publisher, just the last photo, sir. Okay. Yes. And then we go downstairs and the party continues there. Thank you, everybody. Remember, talking of our partners, all the water we have drinking or drinking this place was supplied by my friend Segun Ojewuyi of Concrete Communication. And we thank our supporters, Freedom Park, NLNG, Providence Bank, everybody. Thank you. Let's just take the photo and then we go downstairs. They are so, come on. They are so, oh, you want to take photo? Anyway, oh. Then you quickly go and take. The goat will soon run away. Our partners include Pen, Poets in Nigeria, we have Pen, we have Anna, we have Nanta, we have Sonta. We have about 12 partners who partner us on this event. Thank you very much, everybody. So, photo. Go and chop it so it can be done. Thank you very much.